Caddis Maximus here again, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic Air Impact Screwdriver. Now this is an interesting little item, and actually I like it better than a lot of the other cheap tools. This one is not as cheap as the, I guess, lesser quality made. This is not advertised as being professional, but it's actually kind of unique, and I found it very handy. The primary reason being is versus using electric impacts, you don't have to put in a whole bunch of extensions to get into tighter areas because it's straight. And it works real fast, and sometimes it's just more convenient to have an air tool when you're working with really small fasteners, like I would say 10 millimeter and smaller, sometimes 12, but not much, because this thing's only rated for 15 foot-pounds of torque. It just has a single hammer, just like any other big impact wrench. It's just one tiny single hammer, and that's one of the big disappointments, is that it only has 15 foot-pounds of torque. It should have a bit more considering what it is. It is variable power, and then they have a little dot to let you know where to position the screw. Otherwise, this thing just spins 360 degrees and pretty much run it at full power, but it is nice to have it be able to reduce the power when you're working with small screws. It's great for interior work. It's even handy for exterior work, because it has such a little amount of force. You just get one of those adapters to convert it, such as one of these, where you can convert it to being a quarter-inch drive square, quarter-inch drive square or 3/8. They have these in all different sizes, and so you can use it to run down fasteners really quickly, and then it has a low amount of torque, so you don't really have to worry about over-torquing. But in many situations where you have to do a lot of assembly work, the problem with the bigger air impact is it's hard to control the amount of tightening torque, and you may easily over-tighten mini fasteners, where this is almost impossible. It'd have to be a very small fastener. So if you do suspension work, then you can just do this to run all the fasteners in and kind of get them cinched up, and then torque them with a torque wrench, or just tighten them down later. And that's where it can help save you time, is just for quickly running in stuff. And the fact that it's much lighter than even a 3/8 inch impact wrench. Some of the newest composite ones are pretty darn light, and so it diminishes the use of this tool, but it's still kind of a neat tool. And it's actually worked out just fine for me, besides the real lack of power. The only other issue is this, well, I wouldn't call it too much of an issue. They machine this anvil so that it's really tight, the mechanism that locks the bits in, because it is a impact, and I do appreciate that. But on this one, it's really tight, and it's gotten a little better as I've started to use it. But that is one thing to mention, is that sometimes the bits are having a real hard time getting out of the chuck on this. And then if you're wondering, this is just a piece of heavy-duty diesel truck heater hose that I put on it, just to help protect it when you're setting it down or when it gets dropped. But for a small little hand straight impact wrench, several manufacturers make things like this, and they're much better, but it's hard to find them really stocked anywhere. So this is kind of neat that it's stocked at Harbor Freight and you get the extended warranty, but you would have to keep in mind how low power it is, and that's really the big caveat, or the big take back. Is they should have charged another $10 for it and gave it a lot more power. You would think something this small could have 50 foot-pounds of torque, and then with the variable torque, it would actually mean something, and you could turn it down to run in small fasteners. Other than that, it is, of course, reversible with the big reversing lever. That was, I guess, one other issue, is this reversing lever is plastic, and it just sits so far off the tool that if you drop it and it lands on that, particularly from a height, I am definitely pretty worried about this breaking off. So that would be one other thing, is even though it's super easy to operate this lever, made it much more compact and less likely to get damaged if you do drop an air tool. Anyway, that was another Harbor Freight tool review from Caddis Maximus. I really appreciate everybody watching. Please subscribe.